Hello, this is coming to you from Galway, Ireland. Sorry I'm so sweaty. I it's just very hot here. It's a very sweltering day in Ireland. I'm not here on any professional sort of visit or anything. Nothing to do with work. Nothing to do with a fact-finding mission. I'm actually just on holiday in Ireland and discovering that actually Ireland's a lovely place to come on a family holiday. Really, really nice. We started in Northern Ireland. We took the ferry from Liverpool to Belfast, and then we went round the coast, up the north coast, round past Derry, down through Donegal, Sligo, and I'm now in Galway. And tomorrow we're driving south to the Ring of Kerry, somewhere in the Ring of Kerry, and very much looking forward to that. Anyway, I'm giving you that as background and also why I kind of came up with the idea of this, which is so the last few days I've spent my time in Irish and Northern Irish, but on the island of Ireland, coastal towns. Oh God, what's the one in Northern Ireland? Portrush. We went to Portrush a couple of times. Spent a lovely time on the beach. I mean, it was really lovely, really, really lovely. And Galway is really, really lovely. And the whole west coast of Ireland so far has been incredibly lovely. And it just made me think of the amount of seaside English towns that I saw for work over the course of the last year and a half. So some of you will have some background on this. I do a lot of writing on jobs, employment around Britain, mostly England and Wales. Although I'm going to be branching out a little bit, not to Ireland, but Scotland at the very least, in the 2025. Anyway, looking like I'm going to be doing a piece on Aberdeen, fingers crossed. But anyway, I've seen a lot of English seaside towns, particularly in the north. A lot of them in the northeast. I spent some time in. So Hartlepool, Redcar, those two immediately come to mind. But you've got Skegness, you've got in East Anglia, you've got Great Yarmouth, you've got Cromer, you've got Lowestoft. I've spent some time in. Yeah, and then sometime down in Essex, I was in Southend and around there, Canvey Island. I'm sure there's other places I've been to. Those are the ones. Anyway, I've been to loads of seaside towns and actually spent some time there. In other words, going to these places for like a week at a time and just really kind of soaking up the atmosphere. And I guess the thing about going to the seaside towns that I've been in Northern Ireland and Ireland so far is it's amazing how well-to-do they are and just how wealthy they feel and how touristy they feel and how really served by the fact that they're on the sea they are, and how there's clearly an influx of people. Now you can say, okay, there's an influx of people because it's August. Yes, absolutely true. But I'm sure things pick up in some seaside towns in England over August. Sorry, guys. It's just very hot. But this, it just feels different. It feels like a different level of affluence. Somewhere like Portrush, Northern Ireland, compared to any of the seaside towns I went to. Even the ones that were a little bit better off. So in the northeast, if you go along the coast, from Redcar, you come to Saltburn. And Saltburn is nicer than Redcar in terms of it just has more stuff going on. There's clearly a kind of there's some traffic coming in to actually take in the town, but nonetheless, it's still it's not the same level of the seaside towns I've seen in Ireland, and it isn't even so much what is Ireland doing right, because I think they've set up a decent tourist industry. They know people who like to come here. They've really made it good for the Americans. The Americans love coming to Ireland, and they kind of put it on a plate for them, and they know how to sell the kind of crap that the Americans eat up for breakfast and all that stuff. And I mean, good on them, but also it's more than that. There's like in these towns, there's a lot of Irish people who are coming from other parts of the country, and they're having a holiday or a little break. You know, you'll have people from Dublin coming to Galway for a little break, and it's just interesting to me. I mean, it's more what are the English seaside towns doing wrong? Where has it gone so wrong for English seaside towns? Why aren't they doing much better than they are? In fact, why are they doing so badly? Why are they, in a sense, why are they sort of... If you made the coast of England its own separate sort of entity, its own county almost, that's ridiculous, but stay with me for one moment. If you made it its own county, it would easily be the poorest county in the country. Even when you lop in things like Brighton and stuff, which would raise the bar, obviously places that are the few seaside towns in England that are doing well. It's kind of amazing how badly they do, and how people just don't go there particularly, or at least don't spend any time there, and don't see them as desirable. And it's a vicious circle, because here's the thing, it's no one goes there, so they get poorer and they get worse. And as they get worse, they get crappier and more run down, and businesses go under, and you have high streets with boarded up shops, and you have no economic traffic. You know, you've got nothing going on. The economy in these towns is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And of course, what that means is then you've got all these boarded up shops and nothing's happening. So they're less desirable to go to, as it were. So fewer people go, and then you end up in a situation where that makes the economy worse. And it's just a kind of a negative feedback loop where the English seaside towns just get worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's a real problem, and I just feel like there's something that we're missing, but I'm not really sure what it is. And the thing is, having spent time in these places, I think the big problem is just turning it around will be really hard. I suppose if I had ideas, one would be probably more post-secondary institutions of some description, some more, university outposts. I don't mean like setting up a whole new university, but like, I don't know, like the University of Middlesbrough at Redcar, or the University of Newcastle at Redcar. Let's go there. Just something that so you can get young people into the town who wouldn't be there otherwise, and actually kind of artsy, even like left-wing. And not because I'm saying there's anything positive about being left-wing. Not that I'm saying there's anything negative either. What I'm saying is just like, some liberal people who might just kind of go, and, I know that'll cause a clash with some of the locals, but also it means bringing money in, and the kids will drink in the pubs, and so the pubs will have business, and they'll shop in the shops, so the shops will open, and then someone's going to figure out that, oh, well, these kids want this. I mean, I'm not saying this is a silver bullet, but Jesus, something's going to happen, I guess what I'm saying is it's quite depressing, in a sense, to go to these Irish seaside towns, and they are really lovely, and they're really thriving. They're really clearly doing well. And to just think of all the places I've been in England that are just so desperately failing economically. And, and people, quite rightly, because as they should, they have great pride in where they're from and what their town is, and they want their towns to do well. But no one really knows how to turn it around. And like I say, I mean, I don't really know. I can chuck some ideas. I just chucked the one about like post-secondary institutions at you. Transportation, maybe. I mean, sometimes the transportation links between some of these places is really bad. A good example is I was doing a lot in Redcar, and I was doing a lot in Sheffield at the same time. And so I had a thing in Redcar, and then I wanted to go to Sheffield. And I was just going to come back from Redcar to London and then go back from London to Sheffield. And I paused for a moment and thought, This is semi-ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, they're both in Yorkshire. I appreciate Yorkshire's huge, but I mean, anywhere in Yorkshire to anywhere else in Yorkshire is going to be a lot closer than London to anywhere in Yorkshire. I mean, that's just basic geography, right? So I thought there must be a way that's straightforward, and there wasn't. There is really no straightforward way to get by train from Redcar to Sheffield. The easiest way was, in fact, taking the train from Redcar to London, and then the next morning getting to London from London to Sheffield. Also I could spend the evening with my children and my family, so added bonus. But just, and that was the cheapest option as well. But like to get from Redcar to Sheffield by a train, I was trying to work it out. I think it was like I could get a train to like Harrogate, and then I could take a very slow train from Harrogate to Leeds, and then I could get a train from Leeds to Sheffield, and the whole thing would have been like 7 hours or something. Like, I mean, genuinely, like going from London to Aberdeen on a direct train, in terms of time spent on the train. And so does that have something to do with it? Maybe the infrastructure problem is killing it. But let me know what you think. The coastal towns issue in England is one that I think about a lot. And part of it is because I've, been working on something which has involved coastal towns. I mean, I did a whole project on jobs in Britain for the Jobs Foundation, talking about so going to certain places, looking at the employment prospects. And, one of the things about it was I saw lots of stuff that was really impressive and really kind of made me feel very positively in a way that I wasn't expecting. Like speaking with 25-year-old tech millionaires in Sheffield and them telling me about, I had to get the venture capital, I couldn't get it from London and no one would give it to us, so we just went to Boston. And I said, well, did you know people in Boston? They said, no, we just looked some people up on the net, we got on a flight and we cold called a few people and, kind of came away with a few million quid, and now we've got this, thriving tech business out of Sheffield. Stuff, I didn't expect to see that. Amazing, great, really hopeful. But yeah, then going to the coastal towns was really depressing. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, I had a great time there. I'm glad I saw it. I met a lot of great people. There's people who I will hope to stay in touch with for forever, that I came across in some coastal towns. A lot of great people in Hartlepool. A lot of Gary Riches. I'll just give him a name shout. He's the vice chancellor at the FE College, Hartlepool. Great guy, really solid guy. Grew up in the town. Actually, grew up in one of the poorest parts of the town, and you sort of really pulled himself up by his bootstraps, and is now the vice chancellor at the college. Really great guy, and I'm just picking him out because he's the first one that comes to mind. But loads of people. There's loads of people in these communities that are really trying to make them work, and really, really want them to succeed, and really want them to we want to turn these places around. And you just think, how do we do it? What do we do? How do we get to a point where, like the town, and it just feels ridiculous to even say it, but the towns, those sort of towns in Teesside or in Northumberland or on the other coast, the Lancashire coast, Southport and Blackpool in particular. How do we get them to feel like the towns I've seen in Ireland, where it's just full of people spending money, full of quite middle-class people from all over the world coming to spend money. And you just think, England is an amazing country with a lot of beauty in it and a lot of amazing stuff in it. And again, one of the weirdest things, so I keep going back to Redcar, but I guess it just made an impression on me. You go slightly south of Redcar, By the way, for you, those of you who don't know, some of you, I just realized I didn't even preface Redcar that well. It's close to Middlesbrough. It's like northern, um, the sort of the northeastmost corner of Yorkshire, if that makes sense. Anyhow, someone gave me a lift and I got in a car and we went about 10 minutes drive south of Redcar, inland. And suddenly you're in this bit of North Yorkshire that's really lovely, and it's all cobblestone streets and quite expensive cars and quite, posh cafes and actually a lot of tourists. And you just think, Jesus, how do we do this? How do we get the coastal town thing worked out? Anyway, I realize what I've done in this video is ask a lot of questions and not give you a lot of answers, which maybe will make the video not very well watched. I don't know. But I feel like it was an important thing to talk about, and I was just walking around Galway. Now I was looking for a book. It was actually a specific book, and I couldn't find it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And also for a pint of Guinness, which I did find in a pub. Oh God, Irish pubs are lovely. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. But I'm getting distracted by how lovely the walk around Galway was. How really, really nice it was. And how full of stuff and life and everything it was, and not full of boarded up house fronts and boarded up shops and nothing but the only thing being open being vape stores, that kind of stuff. And I just thought about all the coastal towns in England I'd been to and how different they feel. And Galway's a city and fine, but I'm telling you, the little towns I've been to in Western Ireland and on the north coast of Northern Ireland, it's a similar feeling. A lot of people, there's money, stuff's happening, there's a good economy. It's, and again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that there isn't poverty in Northern Ireland or indeed in Ireland. Of course there is. I'm just saying that this whole coastal thing doesn't feel as acute. It doesn't feel as like it's the same problem. It feels like a particularly English problem, this coastal communities thing. Anyway, if you have any thoughts, please share them. I'm really interested in this. This is really a topic near and dear to my heart, and I would just love to know what you think. Anyone who has any thoughts or any policy ideas around coastal communities in England, I would really love to hear them. Anyway, I'm going to get back to my holiday. Thank you for listening. If you got this far, please like and subscribe to the channel. And I do these videos. Sometimes I have people who like them. I have people who really hate them. I have people who've read my stuff for years and years and years and are like, you're a writer, don't do the videos. The videos are annoying. I don't like videos. I don't watch videos. But the truth is, there's lots of things I could do that's the easy path, and I'm not very good at taking the easy path. That's just the truth of the matter. I just sort of do what I think I need to do, and that's how I do it. I follow my nose. And that's what caused me to start, This Is Brexit Land, and then it also caused me to stop doing it because I just felt like that had played out. And I know that upset some people, but what can I say? Here I am in the EU talking to you. So, hey, what do you want? Thank you for joining me. I'll see you soon whenever I get the inspiration to do another one of these. And I hope on the next one, I'll be significantly less red and sweaty.